Hi everybody and welcome. Welcome to spring and welcome to the bell times, the Beltane and the new moon astrological update from Mark McNutt, which is me, of course, the Astro Wizard. So yeah, I do these at or around the new moon, and it's a new moon in Taurus. Every new moon in Taurus, well, here in the northern hemisphere, that's the Beltane times. That's the times for rebooting in the springtime. The energy of each season doesn't start at the beginning of the season. It actually starts at the midpoint and works outwards. So the middle of Taurus is the power time for the spring, and so forth with the rest of the year. It's always the midpoint, and that's very exciting. So because right now, of course, the flowers are starting to bloom, and as us pagans say, the Persephone is rising from the underworld, and there's the new hope, the new beginnings of springtime, and with all the death and destruction and drama that's going on in the world, the one thing is the flowers. They still grow. The plants still put out green shoots, and it's a belief in the rewards of coming forward and just believing with a positive attitude that things are going to be really renewed once again. So here we are in Taurus, the second sign of the zodiac, and Taurus is about grounding and rooting and being with the earth. And that's why Earth Day always happened. That's why they picked Earth Day to happen just as the sun went into Taurus. That's actually part of why they picked, that day for Earth Day. And so what we're looking at is at the new moon. It's a time of new beginnings, and it's a time for the new lunar cycle. And sun and moon in Taurus, very fertile times, very, very connected that way. But in addition to that, Jupiter's in Taurus, Uranus is in Taurus, Venus in Taurus, and so we're seeing a whole, basically half the zodiac being focused through that element, through that place, and so very pertinent right now. So what's going on with the other planets also has to do with their conjunction with the sun and moon and all that. The sun and moon in Taurus, and then it's conjunct Venus on one end, which is about love, it's about family, it's about caring, it's about the nurturing the emotion of love and connection. And on the other end, where you have Jupiter and Uranus also in Taurus. Now Uranus has been in Taurus seems like forever, because the whole world has changed so much in the last 5-6 years while Uranus has been in Taurus. We've seen 2 elections, and we've seen just a real powerful shift here on Earth plane. Uranus has to do with the unexpected and unusual, and things coming out of the blue. And so when you have close connections of other planets with Uranus, what happens is it brings in the wild card, the unpredictable energy, the energy of, as I mentioned, out of the blue, and sort of that phrase of, I never thought that would happen. Well, that's the Uranian times, and we're going to be very much, we've been in these times for a while, but this is going to be a focal point for unexpected flips, unusual changes, unpredictable outcomes, and so forth, at least in the short term. So what we're seeing in this month coming up, since the sun and moon are right there with Uranus, is we're going to see a real flipping of things. Now that's going to mean different things to different people. Uranus in Taurus would be very associated with money, finance, earth changes, and fundamentals that way. And so the sun and moon coming to that place, boom, there's going to be that's going to be a trigger point which will manifest over the next few weeks. Along with Uranus, there's also, and it's not Uranus, just not going to do that. That's kind of a anal scientist kind of a thing. But there's also Jupiter in Taurus. Now Jupiter has to do with abundance and expansion and growth opportunities. So Jupiter's been in Taurus for just really a few months, and Jupiter leaves Taurus, goes into Gemini on the 26th of May. So it's sort of the great finale there. And Jupiter has, over the last, let's say 2 weeks, Jupiter's moved into a conjunction with Uranus. And how often does that happen? Well, Jupiter's got a 12-year cycle. Uranus has an 84-year cycle. So that means that happens about every 14 years or so. And those have always been focal points in society. I remember 1968 was the first one that I noticed. That's probably about when I took up astrology, and Jupiter conjunct Uranus at that point, and we can imagine the shifts and the revolutions and changes that were going on now being reflected in then. And interesting how, there's the mass demonstrations on college campuses now, just like there was in the 60s. And, when people talk about the 60s, they're really talking about the late 60s. Not, there wasn't, I was around in 1961, not a lot going on, but there sure was a lot going on in terms of upheaval, unrest, and transformation in terms of the late 60s. And then the next time that happened was about 1982, 83, and so that was the the shift politically to the right that was going on in American culture at that point. And then there was another one. You just add another 14 years and be like 1997, and another revolution and changing going on at that time. And this means different things to different people. So I don't want to, harp on, this or that political aspect of what's going on. Just basically put it in your own mind, your own consciousness. What was going on then for you? And then, of course, then we have the next one around 2010 or so. And so now we have Jupiter conjunct Uranus again, and it's actually already peaked out over the last few days. So end of April, very beginning of May, Jupiter conjunct Uranus. And Jupiter is how we expand and grow. Jupiter conjunct Uranus is unforeseen opportunities, unexpected ways to grow and manifest that have to do with Earth, material plane, and things that really affect us over a larger time period. So this is like planting the seeds for the future right now. Jupiter again is about opportunity. I always associate it with the god Ganesh, as well as of course Jupiter, who is Jove, and so Jupiter being there in the tail end of Taurus has brought forth lots of opportunities for money, for new ways of dealing with the material plane, and opportunities here on Earth, and very much unexpected opportunities. But on the other hand, it's not just all about abundance, because it can be too much abundance. Sometimes Jupiterian aspects are sort of like the overwhelm of the intensity of everything happening at once. Certainly, with Uranus involved, it's a reshuffling of the deck. So right now, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is kind of moving, and they're saying separating, so moving apart, Jupiter moving on. But what's happening over the next few days, early in this new moon, is the moon will conjunct Jupiter and Uranus over the next couple of days, right after the new moon, and followed by the sun doing that, followed by Venus doing that. So 5 planets in Taurus are going to get a lot of shots at that tail end of Taurus kind of opportunistic, earthy grounding aspect. which should be pretty auspicious and ostentatious for you Taurus people and for people in the late earth signs. Now, I would include sun, moon, and rising with that, because the sun, moon, and rising, or ascendant, are the three power points of the horoscope. So they're where we look at first for the big stuff that's going on. So it could be a real opportune time, or it could be a time when disaster happens and everything falls apart. Whatever you believe in will have wings to it. But on the other hand, making assumptions can be a death knell to these sort of aspects, because it's sort of allowing yourself to not know and to surrender to the element of surprise is really kind of part of the formula. So then Jupiter's going to go into Gemini at the end of the month, and Jupiter in Gemini moves in right after the sun goes into Gemini and right before the new moon. So that's going to be a lot of next month's theme. So we're going to see opportunities and advancement and abundance moving in the direction of communication, ideas, people, IT, and there'll be kind of new ways of expansion. Because the thing about Taurus, as much as we could love Taurus energy, it's really reliable, and it's really got that sort of that rooted and grounded kind of thing. But as Jupiter goes into Gemini, it's going to mix things up a lot. It's going to be more cacophonous, but also more opportune, more ability for a little breathing room in there. So that's also going to kind of bring us out of the complacency of the past, and stimulate us with new, fresh ideas and new air in our lungs. So stay tuned, because that's coming up in a few weeks' time. But right now is a time for fundamentals and grounding and all that. And important to remember that the planets are very much in a very close proximity right now, as seen from the Earth. So we have those 5 planets in Taurus, and then we also have Mars and Mercury being in Aries, and Mars catching up to the new cycle as well. And Mars in Aries gives, just over the last few days, been a movement into spurring into new action and so forth like that. We have Saturn hanging out in Pisces, and which is a good time to remember the lessons of the past and to recapitulate your life, and what you actually believe in. And similar with Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's at the tail end of Pisces. It's actually kind of void, of course, right now. So there's a lot of random dreaming that's going on right now. And just as Neptune gets to the tail end of Pisces, it's like, whoa, think I'll go into retrograde, and spends another year in Pisces. And then goes into Aries next year. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be interesting. Neptune in Pisces, very long suffering. So there's a lot of, basically it looks like, there's a lot of kind of spinning around in circles. And then what's going to happen is suddenly, the days of mourning, the days of waking up, and it's the same picture in the Middle East and the same picture in politics and all that sort of thing. There's going to be a sudden movement. Don't know exactly what that means. But I do know that I believe in that, and I believe in the future, and I believe in the extreme movement into a new dawn and a new happening there. Pluto's in Aquarius. Pluto's gone retrograde on May 1st, and when Pluto goes in or out of retrograde, it's a time. Any planet that's stationary, meaning kind of not moving very much, as seen from the Earth, brings sort of a photograph rather than a movie aspect. So Pluto lingering in early Aquarius is going to bring up a lot of possibilities, but make it a little harder to move on it. And it's going to bring us into what we need to learn as a society so that we can move on. And Pluto will come out of retrograde in 5 months' time. So stay tuned, because I think it's an exciting spring and there's lots of possibilities ahead of us. Get your personal reading through me or through someone else. I'm not that attached, actually. I just love to be of service, and I'm an Aquarian Piscean cusp and been doing this for over 50 years, so I like to share what I know. I love to connect with people on a very individual basis. And so also be sure to like us and like this page, and to subscribe, which is free. So I can be found at astrowizardry.com and astrowizardry@gmail.com. And thank you for taking the time to watch this beginning to end, because we love to do it for you. So wishing you all well, and Mark McNutt signing off, and love to hear from you.